Hello again, Ranter is back for the next bite-sized rant of the news of the day, and we're going from the coronavirus and what we're dealing with that into the next phase of this, which is the protest and the need to reopen everything now. Now, I already pointed out in the last video about where we are in terms of the 1.2 million cases and 70,000 dead. And how certain amounts of improvement has been done through our social distancing, through the precautions that we have done, the curfews, the suspension of non-essential travel, non-essential businesses, and so forth, people getting furloughed, which is unfortunate. And yet, we saw the improvement of the estimations go down, and we are seeing some cases go down because of this. So, instead of staying the course until we develop ourselves a vaccine, or at least get us to the point of having a working model of a vaccine, people are like just ready to reopen now, immediately. You see instances of where we have protests going on for people who are just astroturfing themselves there and demanding things to be reopened, when in each and every one of these states that these protests are being done, the vast majority of the people in that state does not want things reopened immediately, or unsafely, or unwisely. That people who are scared to death to even go to a grocery store, who jump to make sure that they're 6 feet away from people and people are 6 feet away from them, are not eager to go and have things reopened and people mob everywhere. Because until you have a vaccine, until you have something that gives you some sense of like stability and hope and involved in this, all it is, like I said last time, it's a petri dish. You're just putting the cultures together and they're going to mix up again, and then we'll have a nice little explosion. You almost see that in a lot of these articles, and in a lot of these cases where people do defy the order and decide either to do their protest or they're just going to go out and do this and, screw the guidelines and all that. Then you find out that, single day cases of the coronavirus jumps magically. I'm not saying magically that that is not true. It's magic that people who deny it, then it happens to them. Faux Christians who want to pass the collection plate, who are so eager in demanding that people come and do worship in person, all of a sudden they get themselves contracting the virus and people die from it. And how did that happen? What, didn't God protect you? I came into this with a few videos ago. I talked about the religious component in all this. How certain faux pastors were so worried about being able to fuel their G7 Gulfstream jets because they don't want to mingle with the non-believers and the demons in the air. So worried that they want people to come into their mega churches and pass the collection plate for them. Like Copeland, who like blows away the coronavirus. It's gone by the end of March. Yeah, okay. That component is still around us now. There is a Ohio representative, a state representative, who proclaimed proudly that he's not going to wear a mask because faces are the likeness of God. Folks, I believe in God, but I also believe that God gave us, through the process of ourselves evolving to where we are now, gave us the capabilities to develop beyond the sense of fight or flight and instinct and the animal impulses. And then so that we figure things out. That's why God blesses scientists and doctors who were given the intelligence to retain the knowledge, to garner the experience, to learn those backstage secrets of our world through how the things are interworking in our world, in terms of our sciences, in our medicines. And people are treating them like the enemy because they're not getting the answers that they want from their political narrative. So, fire Fauci. How dare he contradict our great and powerful president who doesn't know fuck about anything? They're limiting my rights. Social distancing, no, I want to be 3 feet away from everybody, sneezing in people's faces because of America. I'm getting a little ornery about this, but it does cause annoyance and frustration when you deal with people. Dealing with people like this who choose not to understand, or they don't agree with it, so they go to the opposite direction regardless of what facts are in front of their face, because they trust the intuitions of someone who doesn't care about anything, doesn't care about their lives, doesn't only care about his own political livelihood, shall we say. We're not quite going to get to him yet, but we're going to get to him. But for now, we'll just talk about the protests. This astroturfing protest is supposed to have been so organic. There's one thing, that you get in people's faces and you're waving your signs and you're waving your flags of various designs because God knows we can't possibly, have just American flags doing the ever American thing to protest. No, let's have Dixie flags and let's have Nazi flags because all that is representation of you not being able to get to the hairdresser or having a pedicure. Some of these guys, and it's actually funny, is like one of these articles where you see the image of like this bald guy shouting in a cop's face, obviously so angry about not going to the hairdresser. He doesn't need a hairdresser. He's bald, but it's the freedom, all right, freedom. So these ever uber organic protests that just pop up in these state capitals, in states where the majority of the people do not want things opened up until we are ready, they're going to push their goals because they're going to wave their guns around because we have to have guns. No matter what protest it is, we have to have guns there. So you have these people who are flexing their rights because we have to have the caveat as, oh yeah, it's their right. But that becomes a lazy, obtuse answer. Well, why are they having guns in the protest? Because it's their right? Okay, well, that's their right. But why do they have them? Because it's their right? Okay, but why do they need guns there? Because it's their right. Okay. So, when you ask, so, are you expecting violence? No. Okay. Why are they in tactical gear and bulletproof vests? Because it's their right. Is the Second Amendment also about fashion? So you got people, especially in Michigan, doing their protests, waving their, use the metaphor of what metaphor you want to use for the guns, waving their security blankets, marching themselves into the state building, okay, protesting themselves and standing on guard in front of the doors of the governor, okay. I can understand the impulse of saying some things like white privilege, because imagine a organized protest of Black Americans who are armed, and see how far that goes, and how far they'll get into a state office or the state house and be in front of the governor's door. Fucking reality here. But, well, there they are, protesting this, just calling this, all these safeguards, tyranny. trying to keep you fuckers safe as they're trying to keep us fuckers safe. You know, these same protesters who across the country, who, whatever motivations there are, is all pretty much similar motivations, also claim that COVID-19 is a hoax. Yeah, the guy was running the protests in North Carolina, who themselves are saying COVID-19 was a hoax. Yeah, he contracted COVID-19. There are instances where you have these people who do say that it's a hoax, say it like in the pouty way because they're not getting in their way. You know, why are we doing this anyway? Because COVID-19 is a hoax. Something happened in my work. A coworker was telling me that someone was pouting because of the conditions that we're doing at the store is that we have only one entrance and one exit all in the same spot. So we usually have two doors on either end. Well, we cut that off because we have to make a head count. So for the size of our store, our max capacity is 179. We never get that. We never get nearly that close these days due to the curfew and people were apprehensive. So at best, I've seen the count maybe about 30 in the store. Right? Well, one person's complaining that the one door wasn't opening and wasn't letting her go in or go out, and then she complains that why does this matter anyway? COVID-19 is a hoax. She says this while wearing gloves and a mask. We're not requiring people to come in with gloves and masks. Us employees do so for our benefit of our own health and for the benefit into making reassuring you, right? But this lady who says that it's a hoax is wearing a mask and gloves. The protesters were also saying it's a hoax. I guess we're going to assume they're wearing it ironically. We're also wearing masks and gloves. What are you wearing that for? It's a hoax, right? It's fake, right? Just take them off, right? Don't take them off. Come on. It makes you wonder about the political motivations of these people, because clearly a lot of these people who are also chanting Trump quotes, tweeting out American made great again and COVID virus is a hoax and fire Fauci and all this other bullshit that the support class for Trump parrots out because they only talk in Trump jargon. And in the same token of this time period where we have people doing this, we have people who try to compare and contrast the cases and the death counts of COVID to other illnesses. A few weeks ago, somebody from the Facebook political group I'm in, Middle America, decided to put up a meme about H1N1 and given the stats of how many cases and deaths of that year and compared it to coronavirus, where at that time it was 600 dead from coronavirus and a few thousand cases, right? Well, I tried to explain to the person initially that that meme that you're circulating here said those deaths of H1N1 was for the year, not a matter of weeks. And some blurb about Obama and he didn't do everything he could have, and this is a far worse situation. Yeah. Fast forward a couple months when the little 12,000 dead on his meme from 1 year of H1N1 was massively surpassed by COVID-19 at the time that I mentioned this again by 45,000. And I asked, is H1N1 still worse than COVID? See, there's the thing about this. There are people who will keep bringing up the flu like it's the same goddamn thing. These people died from the flu last year. And so that's far different than COVID. Yeah, again. A year. 1 year's worth of people died from the flu. 4 months at most. When we first got our first death in the in country, where we had the first cases that were stuck in a cruise ship, or those who were stuck on a military ship, or stuck in military bases in South Korea, the cases that started from there until we get to mainland. So from February until March, where we start seeing cases open up, 70 over 70,000 people in 4 months. I mean, I don't know, how many more, nails do we need to put into the head for people to see this? Outside of there has to be some sort of political narrative or something to brush all this off, weigh this off, compare it, contrast it to different things in order to what? Support the reopening of our economy? And the motivation to reopen our economy so goddamn bad is not for the people, it's for the person that we're going to discuss later. Because this is all a political calculation. Your lives, you supporting this, is being risked for one man's political livelihood. More to come. End of part 2.